Good evening from Los Angeles. I'm Lawrence O'Donnell, in for Keith Olbermann. The documents reveal, day by brutal day, the truth about the 9-year conflict. The war in Afghanistan is deteriorating and has been for many years now. Our fifth story, the situation in Afghanistan is being widely debated tonight in the wake of one of the biggest leaks in U.S. military history. Nearly 92,000 secret documents were released by the whistleblower website Wikileaks, most of them field reports covering the years 2004 through 2009. The trove was given first to 3 international news outlets, each of which spent weeks researching the findings. All 3 concluded that the documents were real, even if the intelligence they provided didn't always pan out. What the leaked documents show isn't completely new information to anyone who has been paying close attention to the conflict, but they do supply a new level of detail to points war critics have been making for years. For example, it is not news that Afghan civilians have been killed in the crossfire, but until this leak, we did not know that more civilians had been killed by secret special forces than the government has acknowledged. It is not news that Pakistan appears to have been supporting the Taliban, but until now, we did not know the explicit details of how the Pakistani intelligence service met directly with Taliban leaders and helped them plan attacks against allied forces, a charge that Pakistan denies. And it is not news that American and NATO helicopters have been shot down, but until now, we did not know that the Taliban has been using portable, heat-seeking missiles against allied aircraft, a fact that American commanders concealed. The founder of WikiLeaks said the documents provide evidence of war crimes and talked about how allied forces are being bled by many small cuts.
This is the story of the war since 2004. And like most of the accidents that occur on the road are as a result of cars, not of buses. Most of the deaths in this war are as a result of the everyday squalor of war.
The administration, meanwhile, honoring White House tradition, called the leaks harmful to national security, the reliable refrain of all White House spokesmen about all military leaks during all wars.
I said there weren't any new revelations in the material.
How does it harm national security if we've known this already?
Well, because you've got, it's not the content as much as it is there are names, there are operations, there's logistics, there's sources. All of that information out in a public way has the potential, Ed, to do harm.
The New York Times was one of the 3 news organizations to which WikiLeaks gave an advanced look at the leaked documents. Their coverage co-written by national security correspondent Mark Mazzetti, who joins us now from Washington. Mark, to the White House point, is this reporting harmful to national security?
We took very great care over the last few weeks to sift through the documents, and when we decided to ultimately publish the documents and the content, to make sure that they didn't contain information that we thought was directly harmful. For instance, the names of Afghan informants who have been working with coalition troops, the names of specific officers who are working in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we approached the White House late last week and told them what we had and had a dialogue with them over the last few days before we published. And they were quite aware that what we were going to publish, not in specific content, but we took very great pains to make sure that specific sources and methods of information were not revealed.
Now, it is hard to choose the hottest news here, or the most disturbing revelations in these documents, but to the point of the Pakistani intelligence service actually helping the Taliban, working with the Taliban, planning missions with the Taliban, we do not have documentation on that prior to now, do we?
No, we don't. And the Times and other news organizations for a couple of years have talked about and written about how the Pakistan spy service, the ISI, is believed to directly help out not only the Taliban, but groups like the Haqqani Network and a group led by a guy named Hekmatyar. And this is the belief among the U.S. intelligence community. And they even are believed to have been involved in the 2008 embassy bombing, the Indian embassy bombing in Kabul. But these documents have actual named operatives. They talk about meetings on specific dates and specific locations in Pakistan to plan attacks. We looked through these documents. Some of them we threw out because we did not think that they were credible, but then we took them to various U.S. officials, and what we did present in the story, we do think, if not each individual attack we know was carried out, this is something that the U.S. believed to be legitimate.
Now, we helped Afghanistan in the 1980s use Stinger missiles against the Soviet forces. We discover in these documents that they are now using those missiles against the U.S. Is there something in here that you would say is the most important news? We could just go on and on listing these kinds of things, but what do you see as the most important news in these documents?
I think what's important about these documents are the totality, the fine-grained detail of life in war, and it's good, bad, and ugly. It's how the military sees the conflict, and we have never really had this fine-grained picture of war since 2011. And I think this is something that people will look at for months and years to come in terms of how the conduct of war has gone on. I think there are individual headlines. Some of them we've mentioned. I think we devoted a whole separate story to the Pakistan angle because we do believe that this is such an important part of the conflict, and it raises this the complexity of this war. You have an ally that you're funding with more than $1 billion a year in military aid, and yet the American intelligence community believes they are actually helping the enemy. And yet both two successive administrations, the Bush administration and the Obama administration, have seen Pakistan as a critical ally and necessary for any kind of eventual victory in Afghanistan. So it is such a dilemma for the United States in how it deals with Pakistan.
Mark Mazzetti of the New York Times. There's 92,000 documents. I'm sure you haven't finished reading all of them. We expect you back with more of what you find in there. Many thanks for your time tonight, Mark.
Thanks a lot.